tell us what it was like inside?
Well, I thought it was a great speech. I mean, I think the president hit all the right chords. He hit it in front of the audience he needed to hit it. Even some bankers showed up today.
Yes. Were they applauding and laughing?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was a measured speech. There was a little bit of admonishment, but there was also the olive branch and a lot of common sense. Let's get this done. Let's not make this an argument that is not an argument, i.e. the extremes.
Jim, let me ask you a question that would get to the root of what was posed by one of the tabloids today. This financial regulation proposal, as it's moving through the Congress, would it kill the golden goose?
I don't think it's going to kill the golden goose, and some of us think it doesn't go far enough. On the other hand, it's certainly a lot of steps in the right direction. It's better than what we have, particularly if we get the Volcker rule, and we see derivatives traded, standardized derivatives traded on exchange. Again, the devil's in the details, and I guess there's 1,300 pages, similar to the health bill. But so far, I think Wall Street is understanding that reform's going to happen, no matter what it does at this point, my guess is, and that most of the steps are good ones for consumers. What
should we read from the fact that as this bill has gotten closer to enactment, the Dow has done pretty well? Do you see a big Dow reaction to this one way or the other if it becomes law?
I'm not equipped to answer where the market's going based on a reform bill, but I think, so look, I think what American people want and what the markets want is a fair and level playing field, where the rules are clearly elucidated, where the referees are competent, and where we know that the game's not rigged. And markets will do what they're going to do. But as long as the game is fair, I think everybody understands that's a good thing for capital formation.
I don't know if we've gotten your take on the SEC charge against Goldman. The history between you and Goldman's been written about a lot. Yeah. But do you think they're to blame? And you don't blame Paulson for what happened back then?
I'm not gonna comment on the case, but I think that look, we're gonna see more cases. I've been openly talking about the lack of criminal cases. I mean, we passed Sarbanes-Oxley post-Enron specifically to go after this type of malfeasance, i.e. the CEOs and CFOs sign financial statements. They can't rely on the defense. I didn't know what was going on anymore. And that seems to me to be a pretty natural approach. With the Lehman Brothers examiner's report, you have a roadmap. With what happened at AIG, I mean, the Goldman thing's a civil case. It'll stand or fall on its own merits. But there was a lot of criminality, in my view, that was going on at other institutions.
But let me follow up on Carl's question. There was a column in the Washington Post the other day that said this is a non-scandal, that the creation of these market baskets is done all the time. Yep. Anybody buying them, anyone selling knows there's a buyer and vice versa. Right. And only people who made poor bets are the ones who lost money, and that's their bet.
Well, you know, we do have the prism of hindsight, which is quite clear. At the time when these deals were done, you know, I was a skeptic. There weren't a lot of us skeptics. And there were people who were buying these deals for yield. You know, the whole idea of a synthetic CDO, not to get into too much jargon, was that there really was no underlying asset. It was a bet. The seller, Paulson, was agreeing to pay a stream of payments, pay a stream of payments to the buyer, and the buyer was going to get a yield based on his view of the market. That deal had a higher yield because apparently it was higher risk. Everybody saw the underlying assets that were referenced. Again, you know, I'm not going to come to specifics to that, but that's how CDOs were set up at the time. And, you know, I think that because the markets went down, there's an impetus to look for scapegoats. I'm well aware of that as a short seller. But you know, I think we got to be afraid we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Even the president said, look, derivatives in and of themselves are important for hedging. And by the way, for every hedger, there's a speculator. Let's not forget that. So you need both in the marketplace. But again, you need transparency and you need fairness. As long as we have that, I don't think the American people have a problem.
One last one. Blankfein was inside, so was Cohn. Did they have to be there, or was their presence at all a sign that the street has gotten what's going on here?
Well, I think there were a lot of bankers that were in attendance today that weren't there last September. And I think, you know, that's a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing. Again, it was a good speech. I think everyone left the hall thinking better of the president, better of the reform package and its chances. And that there were a few extra bankers in the hall this time than last time, great.